1 year ago.
Worst case scenario panning out.
This is just insane. It's getting even higher as time goes on.
These rescues have been going on all evening.
Hurricane Helene changed the region forever.
Started seeing some helicopters, and they said, hey, we got some people stuck in the hospital, and we don't think that building's going to hold.
Well, Bonnie and I stood here and watched most everything that we had built for 24 years just raise up and float away.
But in the middle of disaster, stories of hope.
But the truth is we're not alone. That hope remains.
Stories of resilience.
But I believe God's got some greater plans for us in this community.
Stories of strength.
We're in a better place as a family. I think we've come to terms with what's happened.
After Helene, stories of strength.
We're going to do whatever God tells us to do. We've got a long road ahead of us, but I do believe we are more than able. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. I still have not found any words to describe what we had to sit and watch. To watch the water come up literally 1 to 2 inches about every 3 to 5 minutes. It's just unbelievable. I feel very blessed to be alive. We have to realize that God gives and God takes away. And it's just been, I think, a moment for us to reflect how short life really is on this side of heaven. And he said, Keith, as he wrapped his arm around me, he said, we can look towards the river to see what we've lost. Or he said, we can turn around and look back towards the mountains and see what we still have. And no truer words, I believe I will remember that for the rest of my life.
So when did you first walk in these doors after the flood?
It was around 3:30 on Saturday afternoon. Didn't know what we was gonna see when we got here, because the only thing we had seen was the water raised inch by inch. The table had lifted and floated without moving the Bible, without moving the vase, and set back down in the only flat spot on the floor that it could without getting one drop of water on it. That shows me how faithful God is to His Word.
A sign that Enon Baptist Church would endure.
The Bible open, perfectly dry, then you knew, that God was going to take care of us.
That care came in the form of a phone call from Emma Ward, the pastor at Mount Carmel United Methodist Church, who offered to share a worship space.
So I went and I passed Enon and I was like, what? The water at the top of the doors, definitely like you can't get in there. I just couldn't imagine. I was like, oh, what if that was my church? I was like, what do I do?
Emma reached out immediately and allowed us to use Mount Carmel.
She was the first person to call me before I left 107 that day.
I called him and I left a message and I was like, I'm sure you're getting so many calls right now, but I just want to say, I'm so sorry this is happening and I can't imagine, and whatever my churches can do to help, we're there.
It goes to show you that God's church is not a denomination. God's church is His children.
It's not about the denominations. It's not about the politics. It's not about all of that, but it's loving God and loving others.
Help didn't just come from Mount Carmel. Churches across the nation came together to rebuild.
So we were able to feed them, we were able to have classrooms, we were able to have our normal Sunday service.
Yeah, brother. Good to see you. We have been able to witness God, to live with God and walk in the newness of God, all because of what a lot of people would call tragedy.
We've had donations come from churches from everywhere, Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma.
When people started helping us, you know, it was hard in times, but at the same time, it was a very true blessing because we were able to we got some land, and we're getting ready to move forward on our new construction building.
We all need to be in prayer that we're going to build what God wants us to build, you know, so that we can share His word with the community.
But I believe God's got some greater plans for us in this community. And we just want to see God exalted and glorified.
Berta Mendoza had been working at Impact Plastics for several years, up until she was swept away by Hurricane Helene's floodwaters. A year later, her son Guillermo is still trying to make sense of what happened to his mom.
In the morning, my mother calls me and she says, "Hey son, how are you?" And I told her I'm doing well, and she said, "Oh good, did you go to work?" I said no. She said, "Okay, well, you know, they asked us to move the cars up, and so from the parking area, so it's, you know, it's starting to rain really bad, so I just wanted to call you, don't take out my grandkids." I said, "No, Mom, we're planning to be here. I'm just working, trying to get, you know, the water out of my basement." She said, "Okay, son, well, I love you. I'll talk to you later." And that was my last call with my mother.
Later that morning, the Nolichucky engulfed the interstate. Guillermo's siblings called to let him know their mom was trapped, so he headed straight toward the industrial park.
When I got there, I could not believe what I was seeing. They call that a river, but that was a monster. The current was so strong that boat couldn't move up the water to try to get to them. I started seeing some helicopters, and they said, you know, "Hey, we got some people stuck in the hospital, and we don't think that building's going to hold. So as soon as we get done rescuing the hospital people, we're going to, you know, start rescuing the other people."
Several of those stranded were able to seek refuge on a flatbed trailer, including Berta.
The flatbed, I guess turned over, and some of them were able to grab on to these plastic pipes, and then there's some people that drifted down and into this like debris island is essentially what it was, that got caught between trees. And she has a very close sister that lives by, who actually was a survivor of the flood as well. She was there with her. They're both together in the flatbed, and she got to kiss my mother goodbye.
Berta's sister Araceli also worked at Impact Plastics.
She was telling me, "I am so sorry. I lost your mom. I don't know what to do. I lost your mom." You know, her hands were all bloodied up, where she was essentially grabbing onto the strap, the plastic strap that was holding the coils.
As search efforts ramped up, so did the conversations about what happened that morning.
I went and asked one of the higher-ups if we could leave, and they told us not to leave yet, that they had to go make sure that it was okay for us to leave with another higher-up. And I mean, like, we should have left.
Berta's body was found 2 days later in the area her sister last saw her, on the other side of the interstate. Almost a week after the flood, Impact Plastics founder and CEO Gerald O'Connor released a video, the only time he's spoken on camera.
That employees were told to leave the plant at least 45 minutes before the gigantic force of the flood hit the industrial park. There was time to escape. To our knowledge, no one perished while on company property. My company will cooperate fully with the inquiries from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and the Tennessee Occupation and Health Administration in days ahead.
Tosha didn't issue any citations for Impact Plastics and said the employees had enough time to safely leave the plant and that their deaths weren't work-related. The TBI also cleared management of any criminal wrongdoing, and no charges were filed. Some of the families filed wrongful death lawsuits. Several survivors also sued the company. Their lawyers declined to comment. Gerald O'Connor's attorneys also denied our request for an interview for this story.
What does it mean to you that your mom came from Mexico wanting to give you and your family this life, and now there's an American flag that flew over the Capitol for her?
I mean, I think she would have been tickled, honestly, because she comes from very humble beginnings, and the fact that people took time to pay their respects to this wonderful human being, I know, she would have been very tickled to have that honor to be remembered in this way. One of the things that my mom always wanted to be was becoming a U.S. citizen. So when she became a U.S. citizen, we celebrated her because that's something that she always wanted to do. As an undergrad, my parents were having some really difficult financial situations, and at the time I needed a laptop. And I said, Mom, I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I can use the school's laptops, but after a while I still need my own laptop. And with the part-time that I have, I can only make certain ends meet. And she said, son, don't worry about it. I'm going to pay for your laptop. I said, what? No, Mom, no. How are you going to do it? I mean, I know right now it's difficult. She said, don't worry about it. With my cakes, I will pay for them, pay for the computer. And my mom makes these really delicious traditional Mexican cakes called tres leches, or 3 milk cakes. And she would sell them on the side, when things got difficult. And so she said, son, I will help you through this. And so she was very proud. And so I think after a while, though, they started getting tired of my graduations from high school all the way to the PhD. But I know my mom was really proud. And I'll never forget all the things she did to help me through to get to this point. So it's always a good memory that I have of her. We're in a better place as a family. I think we've come to terms with what's happened after lots of prayer, after lots of support. Job 1, I believe it's verse 21, says, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away, and blessed be the name of the Lord. My daughter Luna, she still, will either wake up crying or doesn't want to sleep. And recently has been questioning a lot of, where's my grandmother? I'm ready for her to come back. And her beautiful, precious soul, she prays to God and says, Jesus, will you please bring my grandmother back? She was just a wonderful wife, wonderful grandmother, wonderful sister, wonderful aunt. And I had the privilege to call her mom.
We'd had floods here before. I knew this was going to be bigger, but I never expected what we got. I didn't expect it to get to the house. We'd had it in the barn before. So eventually it got up to the steps, and I'm like, Mom, you get your medicine, get your purse. We have to go now.
Meanwhile, Cherie and Kenneth Percival were watching everything unfold.
Immediately, it was despair. What can we do? What's really happening? Because there was loss of power, loss of communication. There was no cell phone service. So communicating was really difficult, and really knowing the truth of the matter. Standing in our front yard and seeing a mass casualty bus pass, that was the moment that will forever stick with me.
You know, how are we going to handle this? You know, everything's ruined, everything's gone. We had 5 feet of water in the house, and you know, you come in, it looks like a combat zone, or worse even. It looks horrible.
Yeah.
I came and saw it, and it was just, you know, it was everything. You know, not so much concerned about myself, but especially my mom. It's everything she ever worked for in her life was taken.
These people have lost everything, and not just their house, but photos, family Bibles, everything that, aside from their memories, everything that documented their memories physically is gone. So it looks different for everybody.
It was about here.
Oh my goodness.
It was about here. So, you know, it was everything.
The flood really prompted our initiation into the nonprofit world and being helpers in our community at a different level. We had several friends that were at the industrial park, and just watching, you know, we lived on Carolina Avenue, and watching emergency services pass us multiple times that day really hit a chord with us. And we ended up going up to the high school that evening as rescues were happening, and just seeing our loved ones, our friends that were really going through such a tumultuous time made us realize that we needed to go into action.
The nonprofit Hands and Feet was born out of that urge for action. The group provides shelter and rebuilds homes damaged or destroyed by Helene. The group stepped in to help Thomas Sinks and his mother after her home sustained severe damage. Together, volunteers are working to rebuild what was lost.
And then it wasn't long after that the Hands and Feet showed up.
There we've had 40 projects. 32 of them have been completed, 8 are still open, and those projects range from rebuilds to debris removal to clearing property so homes can be rebuilt, or demoing houses that have been overcome with mold.
You know, they had to rip everything out of here. And that's just discouraging. I mean, the thought that goes through your mind is, can't we save some of this?
Right.
No, you can't. If the water got on it, you have to throw it.
Yeah, which is traumatic.
Yeah, yes, it was. Yeah,
You
a lot of
know?
things, very traumatic.
I can't even imagine that happening. Just seeing that, seeing all of your house, and then all the stuff in your house. That had to have been hard.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. It took a long time to get it, to be okay with it.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, sure.
I would say it took 6 months to, you know, and still sometimes things pop into my mind that I wish I still had, and I think, well, maybe I should replace it and, you know, just let it go.
The professionals that have volunteered have shown up and said, oh, I think this can be done this way.
Right.
And really, it's been phenomenal. It's been really cool to see.
More than 800 sets of hands helped rebuild the Sinks house. From long-term people to people just volunteering for the day, each run of the saw gave the Sinks hope.
Yeah, and they were, they were our only hope. I mean, it really felt like that. But once they started pulling, getting organizations together, and the community came together too. These folks. So it's been really good. We couldn't ask for more. Honestly, we are just thrilled.
The truth is we're not alone. That hope remains, and if we learn that we're not alone, I feel like hope is so much stronger. And I do feel like it's the anchor of life. And that really, I'm getting chills thinking about it, because none of this has been possible without the goodness of the Lord. And He has made a way, and He's provided the people, He's provided the professionals, He's provided the finances. There's definitely been roadblocks, but seeing these families be able to get one step closer to wholeness has been beautiful.
We're excited to be almost home.
When I saw that bridge was washed out, I looked beside it immediately and saw a westbound bridge knocked out as well. And I started crying, and I don't usually do that. But I knew then how bad it really was. And I knew our community was broken. And I don't mean monetarily. I just meant physically, everything was changed. Everything was going to be a different way of life from now on.
24 hours makes all the difference. Northeast Tennessee slept soundly on the night of September 26th, not knowing what's to come.
So back in September 25th, we started watching the weather. We didn't know the name Hurricane Helene would mean anything to us like it does now. We just knew it was going to be a hurricane. We knew there was going to be a lot of water. There's going to be a lot of wind. So we thought the wind would be worse than anything.
Looking at the weather, I didn't think it was going to be as bad up here as they were forecasting in Asheville, because you got the mountains, so sometimes the weather's not the same.
The calm before the storm. A storm that would forever alter Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia.
I didn't know anything had gone wrong until I walked into the building. I walked into the building and it just felt off.
We had some people out looking at the river. Obviously, it was getting up. It wasn't violent at the time. We knew about when it was going to peak based on what the Weather Service was telling us. We're still watching locally. We have areas of interest in our county. We know that flood. We know where they're at.
As the floodwaters rose, so did the anxiety.
So probably about 8:15, I go to one residence, and I walk behind this house. She's a customer of mine. And when I walk behind her house, I can see the river very well. It's probably 20 feet higher than it normally would be. So I hear something behind me. I look around, and our emergency management director, Jimmy Irwin, had pulled up in a driveway, and he just looked at me and grinned. And he said the same thing. He said, "Here we are." And I took a stick and a shovel from this lady's back porch, and I drove it at the edge of the water, and I took a picture of it. That was about 8:15. I come back to her house about 8:45. The river was up about 2 more feet. About 10 minutes later, I came back a second time just in passing. The stick that I had marked with was gone.
The flight nurse looked on a social media page and saw a picture of water just coming into the entrance of the hospital. So I had that in my head.
The Nolichucky River is a few dozen feet above normal by 11 a.m. The water is nearly as high as the Unicoi County Hospital.
Because the ceilings were low, we couldn't go straight over the mountain. We had to go towards Johnson City and then turns south towards Irwin. Once we did that and got a little bit closer, just saw the water basically from one side of the mountain to the other. And that's when it was like, wow, we weren't expecting this at all.
you know, we both, as soon as we came around the mountain, we saw the interstate was gone. We both took a breath. I remember taking one myself and just thinking it felt out of a nightmare, pretty much. It felt dreamlike. It wasn't real.
But, you know, at the time, we didn't know the severity of how high the water would be or the debris that would be in the water. So once we got our vehicles and our equipment back out of the way, we could go stand in the 2-lane road in front of the hospital and try to work. And you just had to keep backing up because at that point, there was really nothing you could do.
So not knowing the structure of the roof, we knew that we couldn't just fully set down, you know, like the helicopters are sitting now. We didn't know what the support was. And basically what I did was touch the roof just enough so I wasn't moving around. So I still had some power and some collective in. So I'm still basically flying the aircraft. It's not like when you sit down on the ground, you can then relax. Still in that flying position.
You almost have to lock in. You almost have to, I don't want to say forget, but you have to put aside your own feelings of knowing that the hospital's flooding, knowing that these people are scared, knowing that people are looking to you to tell them what to do.
That's the bridge, floating downstream. Holy moly.
The devastation was widespread. Bart Ray is one man, but was everywhere in Unicoi County.
In fact, those 3 individuals were able to rescue the highway patrol officer and the other individual, and he was transported to Asheville Hospital by a Tennessee Highway Patrol officer because at the time we were getting cut off on the interstate, we just didn't know it. So they transported all the way to North Carolina because we couldn't come this way.
1 year on, the rebuilding is still underway. There will be new homes built, new roads, but the memories remain.
I hate to use the word excitement, but I'm really excited to see where it's going to go because, you know, it takes maybe a bad turn of events to make things better.
There was people in need and we needed to help them. That was exactly what we are trained to do. It's exactly what we were trained in the academy to do. So it was important that we made that decision.
This game comes down to execution and determination. That's the 2 things. You know what happened last year. We all remember what happened last year. Hey, Gumbardo, you were in there good, son. All these coaches and all these people that are here watching this game are former players. They give everything they've got to play in this game. What you've got to ask yourself is, what are you willing to give up to win? Let's leave no doubt. Okay? Yes, sir. Let's go!
Let's go! A different school year, a different season, and a different field for the Hampton High School Bulldogs.
I got a phone call from one of my neighbors up there and said, hey, it's running into the high school.
I live on Spring Street right near the high school. We looked out, we had this big window, and we saw the river coming down the road. You could hear the water rushing for like hours and hours and hours.
I started seeing videos of the football field.
Carter County 911, where's your emergency?
The Hampton High School has a huge propane tank, and honey, it just broke off the stand.
The entire back parking lot washed out. So the asphalt had washed out, and it had actually, you know, been put there on the football field.
I've spent 18 years of my life in this high school, whether you're going to school.
That's what I'm talking about! God dang! Yeah!
Coaching, teaching somehow, some way, and you know, you just feel like it's a little bit of an emptiness inside of you.
The flooding hit in the middle of the season, leaving many Bulldogs without basic necessities, let alone the Friday night lights that keep the community going.
We live over towards Pogie in that area. And so we woke up figuring that we'd have to cut our way out of our road, not expecting anything really tragic. It took 3.5 hours to get half a mile down our road. Yeah, we didn't have power or water for about a week.
And when we got back in, like, it was just really, like, I was bawling my eyes out because everything I'd known for my whole entire life was just destroyed.
We did a lot of home visits on Sunday, checking in with kids, seeing if they had water, they had lights, see if their homes were, see if they just had any basic needs.
When we was down there working with the fire department that was down there, we ended up getting the event of that, and I went to the ER with 51 stitches over with a chainsaw.
Braxton, he was running the chainsaw and cut his arm and actually was out for 3 weeks with some bad stitches in his arm and this, that, and the other. And a lot of the guys were at the elementary school running side by sides up in the mountains and up in the hollers to people to make sure that they had what they needed, and it made me awful proud of them.
I saw everything online from the field, the school, everything being washed away. Started asking a bunch of questions. Where are we going to practice? If we're going to play again?
We had about a 3-week span where we didn't have any football.
Then an opportunity came from longtime rivals. Hampton would play the rest of its season at Happy Valley.
Happy Valley's been very welcoming to let us use their facilities, and we're just glad to be able to play football.
Where the road was broke on 321, I couldn't get around it. It was an hour and 15 minutes to get to Happy Valley to where we was practicing.
Hours of travel just for a chance to return to the field.
The first game after the flood, it was a very emotional experience.
That felt really good to get out and see my friends and just do what I love.
Our stands were just absolutely packed full, and I told the guys, these guys have got so many other things to worry about, but they're here for you. Power eye right, wham 2 end around. You're a strong side. And they've been through the flood, they've been through losing their school, they've been through losing their football field. Proud of you guys for 2-0. Good job. I think it just made them a tight-knit group that they're really pulling for each other and they're really wanting to see each other do well.
The only thing you hear in Hampton is when's it going to be rebuilt. We've got some big plans and some good things coming. So it may be gone now, but it'll be back here in a little while.
Well, Bonnie and I stood here and watched most everything that we had built for 24 years just raise up and float away. It wasn't like rough, devastating water pushing it out. It was just lifting it up and washing it away. What hadn't lifted up and washed away was literally torn to pieces. And then a couple of feet of mud, old slick mud on top of that. And it was a pretty dreary looking place back there. And then we decided, probably in that moment, that we were too old to rebuild. We thought this would be a good stopping point. We'll just stop right here.
How important was it for you to get the pets out of here? Get the animals initially?
Well, like I said, we were getting out $50 goats and letting $100,000 tractors get washed away, so it's pretty important.
Sense of satisfaction when you see them all here back in their places.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Come here. Come here. And then people started coming and telling their stories. One lady came and said that she met her husband here 22 years ago. And at that point, we realized how much this place meant to people. We hadn't realized that before, because we'll let one complainer out of 10,000 ruin it for you. But we decided at that point, if this place means so much to people, then we're going to build back and hope our next generation will carry it on.
Carol Fender wouldn't have to rebuild with just his wife, Bonnie. Hundreds of volunteers would travel from both just down the road and across the nation to make sure the farm would reopen.
Well, we have, nobody has given us anything in our life. We have busted our hump for everything that we've ever gotten. And it was hard when people started coming in and helping and donating and whatever they could do to help. People just continued to come, and it was just like being at the ocean and seeing the waves roll in. It just continuously, one right after another. And like I said, we spent our first 7 weeks, but there was people here everywhere working, and just our friends were pointing them what to do and turning them loose. We're pretty proud of what has been accomplished here through, I guess, volunteers, donations, and prayers. We are honoring the volunteers. We love the Tennessee volunteers, but that's not what volunteer means in our corn maze this year. It's about the volunteers who have given their time and their resources and their love to come to this community, not only for us, but for people all over this community, which they have helped. They're few and far between now, but still yet, we appreciate those who are still coming.
Thousands of hours of hard work from the community leading up to opening day for Fender's Farm.
Which one is your favorite? Oh yeah, I like that one too.
Absolutely not. I didn't know that we could ever be back the first few weeks that after the flood, but we've had a tremendous amount of outpouring of love from people with donations to volunteers. Just look at the smiles on people's faces, and they were so excited to be here, so excited that we're back, and we're so excited to be back. It's just been absolutely phenomenal. We decided as we turned and looked toward the highway or toward the mountains, there's some things left, and we just chose to be thankful for those things that was left instead of worrying about those things that were gone.
So here we are almost a year out, and we are so much better than what everybody thought.
There's been good that came out of this, and people that weren't connected in the community, didn't know their neighbors, now they do.